If I'm being honest, I knew something was off from the second the plane wheels touched down at LAX. Maybe it was the way my son insisted on buying the ticket, forwarding me the email before I even agreed. Maybe it was the way his wife spoke in that overly sweet voice on the phone, calling me dad like it was a brand she was trying on. Or maybe it was just Los Angeles itself, spreading outside the plane window in a hazy sprawl of beige and glass, like somebody dumped 1,000,000 condos into a frying pan and turned the heat up. I am a Midwest man. Asphalt, maple trees, winters that hurt your face. I spent 3 decades on concrete floors in a shop, fixing other people's engines, and then went home to my little house with its cracked driveway and peeling porch rail. Clean, simple problems. Things that could be fixed with the right wrench and enough sweat. Family is not like that. Turns out, family has no manual. The airport hit me in the face with recycled air and perfume. Everywhere I looked, people stared at screens, talking to no one, and everybody at once. I shuffled along with my carry-on bag, feeling like I had old man stamped on my forehead. My son, Evan, had texted me, "Just grab a rideshare, Dad. House too far to pick you up." Busy day at the office, a busy day at the office, of course. I found the rideshare pickup, let some kid throw my bag in the back of a black sedan, and watched the city crawl by as we headed out toward the hills where people pretend they do not live on a fault line. "Visiting family?" the driver asked, glancing at me in the mirror. "My son," I said. "He moved out here years ago. Big job, big house, his words." "Nice," the driver said, but his voice had that flat tone that really meant, "Good for you, stranger. I will forget you the second you get out." I looked out the window and watched the neighborhoods change. Strip malls gave way to cleaner streets, neat rows of palm trees, and houses that had probably cost more than my entire life had earned. It was like moving through layers of makeup on a face, getting smoother and shinier the closer you got to the good side. The navigation chimed. The car turned onto a quiet, manicured street where all the houses matched like they had been ordered from the same catalog. No kids on bikes. No one mowing the lawn. Just clean, silent driveways and imported trees trying to pass as shade. "Here you go," the driver said. I got out, the heat pressing against me. The house in front of me looked like every other house on the block. White stucco, black-framed windows, big glass door. Modern, they would call it. Soulless, my father would have said. I hoisted my bag, walked up the stone path, and rang the doorbell. Nothing. I tried again. The chime echoed inside somewhere, but no footsteps followed. No coming, no laughter, no dog barking. Just silence. I checked my phone. No new messages from Evan, no missed calls. Of course, maybe they were running late. Traffic. Important meeting for the big man. Maybe his wife had dragged him to some yoga thing, and they had misjudged the time. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, because that is what fathers do. We give benefits, and we doubt ourselves. I walked back down the steps and shaded my eyes, looking around. The street was still empty. A breeze rattled a palm tree. Somewhere, a bird made a sound like a squeaky chair. "Hey! Hey, you!" The voice came from my left. I turned. A man was hurrying across the adjacent lawn, half stumbling over some decorative stones. He was in his late 50s, maybe early 60s, in cargo shorts and a faded blue t-shirt that said, "Big Sky Marathon." His sandy hair was more gray than anything, and he had the squint of a man who spent more time outside than his dermatologist would like. He looked scared. He ran right up to me, waving his arms like I was standing on a landmine. "Run!" he gasped. "Run away before it is too late. You cannot stay here." I stared at him. "Excuse me?" "Do not go in that house," he said, his voice so high and panicked it surprised me. "You have to get out of here. Turn around. Go back to the airport. These are terrible people." Just like that. No hello, no nice to meet you. I am your son's friendly neighbor. Just, these are terrible people. I felt something twist low in my stomach. What did they do? He stopped, chest heaving, eyes flicking nervously toward the street as if he expected the shrubs to grow ears. "You are his father," he said, "right? You are Evan's dad." I nodded slowly. His gaze softened for a second, with something like pity flickering in it. "Then you deserve to know," he said. "You deserve to know what they did." Before I could ask more, a black SUV rolled slowly down the quiet street, tinted windows reflecting the sun. The neighbor stiffened, his hand closing around my forearm with surprising strength. "Come with me," he hissed. "Now." He did not wait for an answer. He pulled me across the perfect green grass, away from my son's front door, toward his own house. "While you're here, hit the hype button. Don't forget to subscribe and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this?" His name was Walt, and his house had the kind of mess that made me feel instantly calmer. Where my son's place had looked like a hotel brochure, Walt's 2-story Mediterranean looked like a home. There were shoes by the door, a jacket tossed over a banister, some kid's art stuck to the fridge with magnets, a dog crate in the corner, blanket folded half over it. "Sorry," he said, ushering me in and closing the door like he was barricading it. "My wife is out with the kids." I dropped my bag near a chair. "You want to tell me what the hell is going on, Walt?" He flinched at my tone, but he nodded. His hands were still shaking. He went to the kitchen counter, grabbed a glass, filled it with water from the fridge dispenser, then abandoned it, untouched. "I am your neighbor," he said, as if that helped. "We moved in 3 years ago. I have been watching that house ever since." "That house," I repeated. "My son's house." "Your son and his wife," he said, voice tightening. "They go through people." I felt another twist in my gut. What does that even mean? He looked at me like I was the last one to get a joke that everyone else already knew. Then he turned, grabbed a tablet from the kitchen island, tapped the screen a few times. "I have cameras," he said. "Everyone does around here, but I pay attention to mine. I install security systems for a living, so when I say I notice patterns, I mean it." He turned the screen toward me. There was the front of my son's house, as seen from across the street. The date stamp in the top corner said about a year ago. A moving truck sat in the driveway. Older people stood nearby, people my age and older, frowning and confused. A frail woman gripped a walker. A man in a sweater vest shuffled behind her, looking lost. My son stood in the middle of them, all polished smiles and reassuring gestures. His wife, Amber, in a short white dress and sunglasses too big for her face, had a hand on the old man's shoulder like she owned him. "This is my Aunt Claire," Walt said quietly, "and that is her husband. They moved here from Idaho to live with family. That is what your son told them. They sold their house. They sold their car. They came with suitcases and trust." I watched as the old couple disappeared into the house. Walt swiped to another video. Now Aunt Claire was on the porch, but she looked different, thinner, shaken. The walker was gone. Instead, she clung to a single rolling suitcase, and the man beside her looked like he had aged 10 years in a few months. Evan stood beside them in a pressed shirt, one hand on his hip like he was waiting for someone to finish their shift. Amber was not in this shot. She was probably inside, counting something that belonged to them. A rideshare car pulled up. The driver got out, moved toward the old couple. They loaded their bag into the back. "They stayed 6 months," Walt said softly. "Then they were relocated. That was the word your son used when he was shouting at them in the driveway at midnight. My security cameras have audio. I heard everything. He told them they were a burden, that the cost of taking care of them was unfair when they had savings they were refusing to share." My hand curled slowly into a fist. "Savings." "He pushed them into something called long-term joint support," Walt said, eyes flicking toward me like he was checking to see if the phrase landed. Made it sound like a way to pool resources. It was actually a one-way siphon. He convinced them to use their funds to help stabilize his mortgage. Then when they could not keep up, he pushed them out. They left with almost nothing. I swallowed. My throat tasted like metal. He swiped through more clips, different dates, different older faces, a man with a cane, a sharp-looking woman with a bob haircut, an older couple dressed like they had come from church, all arriving, all leaving. Your son and Amber bring them in, Walt said quietly. Parents, uncles, friends of family. Every one of them had something your son wanted. A house to sell, a pension, inheritance money. When the sharing does not go his way, he turns on them. Always after they sign things, always after they move in. Then they are out. They always look worse when they leave. I stared at the screen. Each clip was a tiny movie. People arriving hopeful, leaving hollowed out. It was like watching a magic trick in reverse. You talked to them? I asked. Any of them? He nodded. Aunt Claire called me months later. She got my number from the neighborhood directory. She said your son convinced them to sign a support agreement, promising that he would handle investing their savings responsibly as long as they helped with some big expenses to get through a rough patch. After a while, they realized every dollar was going into lifestyle upgrades. Amber wanted a pool, new car, vacations. When they pushed back, he told them they were toxic. One night he yelled so loudly that I finally turned on my mics. He tapped again. Now the video showed my son's driveway at night. You could not see much, just shadows, but the audio was clear. Claire, you are not going to guilt-trip me, Evan was shouting, his voice sharp and cold. You moved here. You wanted to be part of this life. That takes sacrifices. I thought we were helping with the mortgage, a woman said, voice trembling. You are helping me keep this family afloat, Evan snapped. If that is too hard for you, maybe you should go back to your tiny farmhouse and stop pretending you understand real life. Amber's voice floated in, exasperated. We cannot keep doing this, Evan. They are bleeding us dry. Bleeding us dry. That is what she said about the old woman who had sold her house to come help them. My stomach clenched. And now, Walt said, I saw your name on the mailbox last week. They put a little tag under theirs. I thought, no, please, not again. Then I saw you today, standing on the porch with your suitcase, and I could not watch them do it again. You are sure they invited me for that? I said. My voice sounded distant, like it came through the airport speakers. You told me on the lawn that your son bought your ticket, Walt said, that he said he wanted you close. Did he talk about sharing expenses, investments, selling your house back home? He had. Not directly, not with those words, but he had hinted, asked if I had thought about cashing out while the market was good, suggested that we could streamline my life so I did not have to maintain a house alone. He had said living in Los Angeles with them would be an upgrade, like I was trading in an old car. I thought of my little house, of the dented kitchen table, the sound of the screen door when the wind caught it. I thought of the tree in the yard that my wife had planted before the cancer got serious. I thought of how, when I had told Evan long ago that the house would be his someday, he had said, "Sure, Dad, whatever you want." I stared at the tablet, at my son laughing in another clip with a drink in his hand, while some older guy tried to squeeze a suitcase into the trunk of a car. When did you say they invited you? Walt asked softly. A few weeks ago, I said. Something about wanting to reconnect. Said we had grown apart since Mom died and he regretted that. Walt looked at me with something like guilt. I am sorry, he said. I really am, but you needed to see this. Something inside me stiffened, like a cable pulled tight. Show me all of it, I said. He blinked. What? Every clip you have, I said. Every date, every face. I want to see it all. I want to know exactly who my son is." He hesitated, then nodded. We spent the afternoon in his dim living room, shades half drawn, the tablet screen glowing between us. He showed me months of footage. I saw faces I would never meet, heard snippets of arguments, saw my son's body language change from charming host to cold landlord. With every clip, with every word, something was burning away. The version of Evan I had built in my head, the boy with scraped knees and wide eyes and a stubborn streak, the man with the college degree I had bragged about to everyone in the shop, the adult who had sent me photos of himself in expensive suits, smiling with his arm around his new wife. That man dissolved frame by frame, leaving someone harder and shinier underneath. By the time the sun was sliding down behind the hills, painting the sky a tired orange, I was not just a disappointed father. I was something else. "So what are you going to do?" Walt asked finally. His voice was cautious, like he was stepping near a live wire. I sat back, my mind buzzing, my heart oddly calm. "First," I said, "I am going to move my bag off your floor and into their guest room." His eyes widened. "You cannot seriously still be planning to stay there." "I have never been more serious in my life," I said. "You were right to warn me. Now, I am going to let them think the hook is set. You said you install security systems for a living." He nodded slowly. "Good," I said, "because I think we are going to need a little more than a ring camera to deal with my son." Outside, a car door slammed somewhere. A familiar voice called out faintly, drifting on the evening breeze. "Dad, you here yet?" My grip tightened on the arm of the chair. "Showtime," I said. The night of the gala came fast. Amber spent the day in a tornado of hair appointments and outfit choices. She tried 3 dresses before settling on a red one that screamed, "Notice me," from across a room. Evan paced, running through talking points and hypothetical conversations with executives as if he could rehearse spontaneity. They bought me a new suit. Dark, sharp, more expensive than anything I had ever worn. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I almost did not recognize the man looking back. "You clean up pretty well, Dad," Evan said, adjusting my tie. "I have my moments," I said. On the drive downtown, the car was quiet. Evan was in his head, eyes flicking between the road and his reflection in the rearview mirror. Amber was glued to her phone, liking comments on her latest post about family nights with my favorite men. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. A text from Walt. "We are all set. Cameras in position. Neighborhood group watching stream. Good luck." I typed back a simple thanks. No details. The less digital trail, the better. The event hall was lit up like a movie premiere. Valets in dark suits hurried between cars. A big banner with the Paragon logo hung over the entrance. People stepped out of vehicles in formal wear, laughing too loudly, hugging like they were being filmed. Inside, the hall was huge, with a high ceiling, crystal fixtures, and a stage at one end. Round tables filled the space, each topped with flowers and programs. A bar ran along one wall, busy already. "This is it," Evan said, looking around with something like possession. "This is where everything changes." "For someone," I said. He led us toward a table near the stage. A sign with his name on it sat among the place settings. "Look at this," Amber whispered. "Front section." We sat. People came by, clapped Evan on the shoulder, told him how great it was to see him. His bosses nodded approvingly. One of them, a man with steel-gray hair and a tan-like leather, shook my hand. "So this is the famous Dad," he said. "You must be proud." "Pride is one word," I said. "I am definitely aware." He laughed, thinking I was making a harmless dad joke. The lights dimmed a bit as people settled. The CEO got on stage and started the usual speech. Growth numbers, market impact, community engagement, values. I listened, but my focus was on the room, on where the exits were, on how people moved, on the cameras set up to capture the event for internal media, on Evan, sitting beside me, straight-backed, eyes on the stage, breathing just a little faster than usual. He squeezed Amber's hand under the table. She smiled, eyes sparkling with reflected light. When they announced the segment about leaders who embody our values, Evan straightened. That was his cue. And now, the presenter said, we want to highlight some of our regional directors who have demonstrated outstanding commitment, not just to performance, but to integrity and family values. Evan's name was near the top of the list. When they called it, the table erupted into applause. Amber squeezed his arm. He stood, smooth and practiced, and walked toward the stage. As he passed me, he leaned down slightly. "Get your phone out," he whispered. "You will want to film this." "Oh, I plan to do more than that." He climbed the stairs to the stage. The lights caught him just right. If I did not know any better, I might have been moved. He looked every inch the success story. Poor kid from nowhere makes it big, thanks his parents, credits his team. The presenter shook his hand, handed him a small plaque. Evan took the microphone. "Thank you," he said, smiling. "This is incredible. I did not get here alone. I grew up in a working-class family. My dad worked double shifts in a mechanic shop so I could go to college. He is here tonight." He gestured in my direction. People turned. A spotlight swung, catching me in my seat. I blinked. "And I want to thank him for everything he sacrificed," Evan continued. "Because of him, I know what it means to work hard, to take care of family, to build something that lasts." My throat tightened, not with pride, with the bitter familiarity of someone hearing their words stolen. Amber dabbed at her eyes like she was moved. The people at our table glanced at me, nodding approvingly. "So tonight," he said, "I dedicate this to him. To all the parents who gave everything so their kids could stand on stages like this." Applause. Big, warm, sincere. I let it wash over me like rain on a windshield. The presenter took the mic back, said a few more words, moved on. Evan stepped off the main stage into a side area where award recipients gathered for photos. The program continued. I stood. Amber blinked at me. "Where are you going?" she hissed. "Bathroom," I said. "Nature calls." I walked along the side of the hall toward the stage access. A staffer tried to gesture me away, but I smiled and kept going. "It is okay," I said. "My son is up there. He asked me to join him for a picture." The staffer hesitated, then stepped aside. Suits in a suit world get a lot of leeway. I slipped into the side area. There was some chaos. Award recipients organized themselves for a group photo. A photographer adjusted lights. People chatted. Evan saw me and grinned. "Dad," he said. "Perfect timing. Come stand with me for this one." "Sure," I said. We stood in front of a smaller backdrop, just the two of us, father and son. The photographer lifted the camera. "Smile," he said. I did. So did Evan. The flash went off. "Got it," the photographer said. "We will send these to you later." We stepped aside. Evan clapped me on the back. "How was that?" he asked. "Not bad, right?" "Beautiful," I said. "I almost believed you." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means that was a hell of a performance," I said. "Talking about sacrifice and family, knowing what you have done to the people who trusted you." His face stiffened. "Not here," he hissed. "We will talk later." "I think here is exactly where we should talk," I said. Before he could react, I stepped past him, toward the main stage steps. On stage, the presenter had just wrapped up the awards segment and was transitioning to the next item. The crowd's attention was wandering. People checked their phones. The perfect moment to grab. I moved up the steps fast enough to beat anyone's politeness. The presenter turned toward me, confusion flickering across his face. "Sir, this part is," he began. I took the microphone from his hand. "Sorry," I said, into the mic. my voice echoing around the hall. "This will only take a minute." The room quieted. Hundreds of faces turned toward me. The stage lights were hot on my skin. In the front, I saw Amber's mouth drop open. I heard Evan hiss my name behind me. "Hi," I said into the silence. "I am Tom. I am the working-class father from the touching story you just heard." A few awkward chuckles. "I spent decades fixing cars so my son could get a fancy degree," I said. "I did not come here to embarrass him. I came here to watch him get recognized." I pictured myself sitting quietly while people applauded his success. I paused. Then I found out what that success is built on. A ripple went through the room. People shifted, glanced at each other. "Someone like me," I said, "does not end up in a neighborhood like his by accident. I was invited. The plane ticket was bought for me. I was told it was about reconnecting and support. What it was really about was getting me to sign away my house to help finance his lifestyle." The CEO, seated at a table near the front, frowned. "That by itself would just be tacky," I said. "Kids pressuring parents for help is nothing new. But my son and his wife have a pattern. I know because their neighbor had cameras." I felt Evan step up behind me. His hand brushed my arm, trying to pull the mic away. I jerked it out of reach. "Do not," I said quietly, into the mic, so it echoed. He froze. "Those cameras," I continued, "saw older relatives arrive at their door. Aunt Claire, her husband, parents of friends. They came with suitcases and hope. They sold their houses. They signed agreements that funneled their savings into my son's mortgage, his renovations, his cars. When they stopped being useful, he called them burdens. He yelled at them in the driveway at midnight and relocated them to cheaper places." Faces in the crowd registered shock, disbelief, discomfort. Some people looked at Evan, some looked at the CEO, some looked anywhere else. "I heard those recordings," I said. "I heard him tell an old woman that she should be grateful he let her help. I heard his wife complain that they were bleeding them dry, when the only thing those people bled was their own future." "This is out of line," Evan snapped behind me, his voice tight. "You are out of line," I said without turning. "You stand up here talking about values and family while you run a private little elder extraction project out of your guest room." I looked at the executives in the front. "I am not asking you to arrest him," I said. "Like I said, I am a mechanic, not a lawyer. Maybe none of this technically breaks a law, but it does break something else. You want to put him on a stage as a face of your company, you deserve to know whose backs he climbed to reach it, and those people deserve someone to say out loud what happened to them." The CEO stood, slowly. His face was unreadable. "This is a private corporate event," he said. "This is not the place for personal grievances." "This is exactly the place," I said. "You cannot have it both ways. You cannot sell yourself as a family company and then look away when one of your rising stars treats his own family and elders like disposable assets. This is not a misunderstanding. There is video. There are witnesses. Ask his neighbor. Ask the retirement community staff. Ask the people he pushed out. Or do not. But do not say you did not know." I handed the microphone back to the stunned presenter. Then the room exploded into noise. People murmured, some gasped, some pulled out their phones. The executives huddled, faces tight. A few of the younger employees looked at Evan with open disgust. Amber stood at our table, skin pale, eyes wide. She grabbed her purse and started toward the exit. Evan stepped in front of me, fury burning in his face. "What have you done?" he said, low and dangerous. "Pulled back the curtain," I said. "Everyone loves a good reveal." He grabbed my arm, tight this time. "You just destroyed my career," he hissed. "No," I said. "You did that. I just turned on the lights." "Come with me," he said. "Now." I let him drag me off the stage, through a side door, into a service corridor. The noise from the hall muffled behind us. He pushed through a door that led out to the rooftop parking deck. The air hit us, cooler, the city spread around us in a sea of lights. He turned to me, eyes wild. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he shouted. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" I walked farther onto the deck, away from the door, under the open sky. "I did exactly what you asked me to," I said. "I showed them what your values look like." He followed, hands clenched. "You took private family issues and made them public. That is sick." "Private," I said, "like when you privately bullied Aunt Claire into emptying her savings. Like when you privately called your in-laws parasites in a driveway at midnight. Private is your favorite word when it comes to making sure no one else sees what you are doing." He came closer. "You humiliated me. You gave a speech about sacrifice while planning to gut my future," I said. "I just made sure people saw both sides." His eyes flashed. "You had no right." "I had every right," I said. "I am your father. I built the foundation you stand on. When I realized you had buried people under that foundation, I decided to pull you off it." He laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "You think anyone will believe you over me," he said. "Over my record, my relationships, my image?" "Do you really want to find out?" I asked. He stopped. For a moment, doubt flickered. "You are just bitter," he said, but his voice lacked its earlier certainty. "You cannot handle that I outgrew your little world." "I am thrilled you outgrew my world," I said. "What I am not thrilled about is the world you chose instead, one where everyone is currency." He turned away, pacing. The city lights reflected in his eyes when he turned back. "Even if they do look into this," he said, "do you think it will change anything? People like you are always shouting about unfairness. Then they forget. They go home. They get tired." "I am already tired," I said. "That is the beauty of being my age. I do not have to conserve my energy for some later battle. This is it. This is the one I chose to spend it on." His jaw clenched. "So, that is it," he said. "You want to ruin me? Fine. But do not pretend it is noble. You are just angry that I will not be your grateful little boy anymore." "I am angry," I said. "But not because you are not grateful. I am angry because you became the kind of man who sees gratitude as a resource to exploit. Those people loved you. They trusted you. You turned them into stepping stones." He looked like he wanted to hit something. Maybe me. Maybe the low concrete wall behind me. His hands opened and closed. "You do not get to decide what kind of man I am," he said through his teeth. "You are right," I said. "You already decided that." The door behind us banged open. We both turned. Karen stepped onto the rooftop, phone in hand, face pale. Behind her, 2 other co-workers hovered uncertainly. "Evan," she said, "security is downstairs. The CEO wants to talk to you, now." His face drained. "What did you tell them?" he demanded. "I did not have to tell them much," she said, voice shaky. "They were already talking. Someone pulled up neighborhood forums. Someone else found that retirement community post about your in-laws. One of the executives recognized Aunt Claire. She is his cousin." I blinked. That was news even to me. "You do not want this to escalate," Karen said. "They are talking about an internal review. You need to go down there calmly and explain." "Explain," he repeated, hollow. "Or lawyer up," one of the co-workers muttered. Evan turned back to me. "You happy now?" he asked. "You got what you wanted." "This is not about happy," I said. "It is about consequences." He took a step closer, invading my space, teeth bared. "You are not my father," he said quietly, viciously. "Not anymore. Whatever relationship we had, you just burned it down." I felt something inside me crack, not break, just change. "You are right," I said. "I am not your father anymore." He blinked. I stepped closer, until we were nose to nose, the city wind pushing at our jackets. "The man I raised would not have done what you did," I said. "The boy I loved is gone. You buried him under your ambition. So no, I am not your father. I am the guy you tried to take advantage of who decided to push back. His mouth opened, closed. Somewhere behind us, the city hummed. Cars moved on the street below. The lights of the event hall glowed through the rooftop access door. Amber appeared there, breathless, eyes wild. "Evan," she said. "They are talking to the legal team. They said you need to come down, now." He looked from her to me. "Go," I said. "Your audience is waiting." He stared at me, hatred and something else churning in his eyes. "You will regret this," he said. "I already regret not doing it sooner," I said. He turned and walked toward the door. Amber grabbed his arm. They disappeared inside. Karen hung back for a moment, looking at me. "If even half of what you said is true," she said, "they are not going to let this slide." "If even half is true," I said, "they should not." She nodded once, then followed them inside. I stood on the rooftop alone, the city buzzing below, the wind cool on my face. My hands were shaking. I leaned on the low concrete wall, breathing slow. Somewhere in that building, my son was standing in a room full of executives, answering questions he never thought he would have to answer. This was not how I had imagined justice. It was messier, louder, less satisfying, but it was real. I checked my phone. There were messages from Walt. Feed went viral in the neighborhood group. People are furious. One of the former guests is already posting in the comments. "They are thanking you." I typed back with clumsy thumbs. "Do not thank me yet. This is only part of it." Because there was still one more thing I had to do. The stage had been for the company. The rooftop had been for my son. There was one battlefield left. Home. We drove back from the gala in silence. Evan sat behind the wheel, jaw clenched, eyes on the road. Amber stared out the passenger window, hands gripping her clutch so hard her knuckles were white. I sat in the back, the borrowed suit suddenly feeling heavier. No one said a word. At the house, we got out. The night air in the hills was cooler, but the tension wrapped around us like a coat. "Inside," Evan said quietly. He unlocked the door, stepped in, and waited until I followed. Amber closed it behind us like she was sealing a vault. The house felt different. The carefully arranged furniture, the decor, the scent of candles. All of it was just a set now, props in a life that had been written for a different kind of audience. "In the living room?" Evan said. We went. He stood near the fireplace, hands in fists at his sides. Amber sank onto the edge of the couch. "You humiliated me in front of everyone," he said. "In front of my bosses, my peers, people I have spent years building respect with." "You humiliated yourself," I said. "All I did was describe your behavior in a room with better lighting." He laughed bitterly. "You think they care about some sob stories from people who did not understand the terms they agreed to," he said. "They care that you made a scene, that you broke the script." Amber looked at me, eyes hard. "Do you have any idea what you have done to us?" she said. "The CEO told us to take a leave of absence while they view the situation. That is corporate talk for, we are looking for a way to cut you loose without bad press." "Then maybe you should have thought about bad press before you ran an unofficial elder tax out of your guest room," I said. "We helped them," she snapped. "We gave them a place to stay. We handled their bills. We took on all this stress. You do not understand how much pressure we are under." "I understand enough," I said. "I understand that every time someone else had something you wanted, you convinced yourselves it was practically charity to take it." Evan stepped toward me. "You had no right to involve your neighbor," he said. "To snoop and dig and collect stories." "They involved themselves," I said. "They watched you for years. They saw what you did to people. They warned me. I listened. That is all." He shook his head. "Do you know what they are going to say online?" he said. "Do you know what this will do to our future? Our image?" I know what it will do to your ability to run the same play again, I said. Which is the point. You think you won, he said. You think standing on that stage and shouting about family makes you some kind of hero. No, I said. I think it makes me something you have not seen in a long time. A line. Amber scoffed. You are nobody, she said. Some old guy with a pension. We let you into this life. You would be in your tiny cold house alone if it were not for us. You would be in a much smaller house if it were not for the people you squeezed, I said. So I guess we all gave something. Evan's face twisted. You are done here, he said. Tomorrow, you are on a plane, back to whatever sad little life you had before. You will never see this house again. Good, I said. It is drafty. The moral rot lets in a chill. He lunged toward me, hands raised. Not to hit, I realized, at the last second. To grab, to shake. I stepped back, out of reach. Do not touch me, I said. You lost that right when you stopped seeing me as a person. He froze, chest heaving. For a moment, we all just stared at one another in the big, perfect living room. Then Amber stood. I am done with this, she said. I am going to bed. Maybe when I wake up, this will all have been a bad dream. She walked past us, up the stairs, heels clicking on the hardwood. Evan sank onto the couch, suddenly looking smaller. You did not have to do it like that, he said quietly. You could have talked to me. Given me a chance. I did talk to you, I said. You made it very clear that the only chance you were interested in was the chance to sign me into your plan. He stared at the floor. You never gave me anything, he muttered. Not really. You gave me lectures, pressure, expectations. I had to drag myself out of that town on my own. I let the words sit for a second. They stung. Of course they did. They were meant to. You remember that summer I picked up extra shifts so you could go to that college prep program, I said. You remember the nights I came home too tired to eat because I stayed late to finish cars to pay for your books. You think money grows on the trees in our yard back home. He looked up, eyes narrowing. You think being tired buys you a say in my life forever? No, I said. I think it bought you options you used to build a life where you turned into the kind of man who uses his own parents the way corporations use entry-level employees. Disposable. So I am not asking for a say in your life. I am taking it. He laughed again, but it was weaker now. You do not have that power, he said. Look around, I said. You sure about that? He looked at the room, the expensive art, the furniture, the view through the windows, dark now but still framing a skyline of opportunity. This was mine, he said. I built it. You built it with other people's foundations, I said. I just yanked out the supports. He shook his head. You do not get it. Without this job, we cannot keep this place. We cannot keep the car. We cannot keep anything. I know, I said. He stared at me, realization dawning slowly. You wanted this, he said. You did not just want to expose me. You wanted me to lose everything. I wanted you to feel something, I said. Something close to what those people felt when you walked them to their rideshare cars with a suitcase and a polite lie. He stood abruptly, shaking his head. Get out of my house, he said. I will, I said. But there is one more thing first. He glared. What? Tomorrow morning, I said. My lawyer back home will get a call. I'm going to put my house into a trust with strict conditions. You will not be in it, ever. He flinched. It is my house, I said. My decision. You wanted to turn it into fuel for your dream. Now it will be the one place in the world where your hands will never touch a single brick. You are being petty, he said. No, I said. I am being precise. He opened his mouth, closed it again. You think you can just cut me out, he said. You cut yourself out, I said. I am just signing the paperwork. He laughed, a brittle sound. Fine, he said. Do it. Spend the rest of your life in that shrine. I hope the ghost of Mom enjoys your righteousness. The comment hit me like a slap. He meant it to. I let the pain roll through me. Then I looked him in the eye. I think your mother would have been disgusted by what you have done, I said, and by who you became in the process. He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in my face must have stopped him. Get out, he said again, voice hoarse. I nodded. I went upstairs, packed my bag. The whole time I half expected him to burst in, to keep arguing, to escalate. He did not. On my way down, I paused at the door to the guest room. The folder with the agreement sat on the desk, open to the signature page. I picked up the pen, looked at it for a long moment. Then I drew a line through the signature line, so deep it tore the paper. I set the pen on top of it and walked out. In the foyer, I hesitated. The house felt like a set being struck after a show. All the props still in place. All the emotional beats finished. I stepped outside. The air on the hill was sharper now. The night had cooled. The street was quiet. Across the way, Walt stood in his driveway, hands in his pockets, watching. I walked over. How bad was it? He asked. In there or at the gala? I said. Both, he said. Bad, I said. Necessary. He nodded. The neighborhood group has been going all night, he said. People are coming out with stories. One of the couples they pushed out moved back into town. They saw the posts. They are willing to talk, on record. Good, I said. He looked at my bag. You leaving now? In the morning, I said. I will get a hotel near the airport and figure out flights. You can stay here tonight, he said. Guest room is not as fancy, but the sheets are clean. I smiled, tired. I appreciate it. As I followed him inside, I heard a noise behind me. I turned. Evan stood on his porch, shadows cutting across his face. Amber hovered behind him, crying quietly. We stared at each other from across the manicured lawns. You think this is over? He called softly. No, I said. I think this is the beginning. For you. For once, he did not have a comeback. I went into Walt's house and closed the door.